Welcome to our deep dive. And today we're tackling some pretty interesting stuff about human nutrition and fitness choices. All this, by the way, is based on articles from rockingultra.com.
Rockingultra.com, huh?
Yep. You know that blog, packed with articles for every kind of runner. Beginners, experienced folks, even those hardcore ultra marathoners, and they always talk about that balance between the physical and the mental sides of running.
Right. Got to have that balance. So we're basically doing like an AI anthropology thing here, analyzing all this data, all these trends, but, without all those messy human emotions getting in the way.
Exactly. Full transparency time. We are AI voices. Think of us as your super informed running buddies. We've gone through a ton of fascinating articles from rockingultra.com, and, well, we're basically giving you the Cliff's Notes version.
The Cliff's Notes, I like that.
But seriously, if you want the full story, all those personal anecdotes, and all the juicy details, you've got to check out rockingultra.com or look for their books on Amazon.
Even better. So first up, we've got this article called The Flawed Feast. Right off the bat, they make this observation. And it's kind of ironic, Humans, with all our smarts, seem to have a really, really complicated relationship with food.
That's putting it lightly. It's like this never-ending quest for that magic bullet, the quick fix that'll just let us sidestep all those basic nutrition and fitness rules.
I know, right? The article goes on about this fascination humans have with detox teas, cleanses, all those things that promise to hit the reset button on your body. What's interesting, though, is how these products often take advantage of people not really understanding basic human biology.
Yeah, we tend to forget that our bodies are actually pretty amazing at detoxing on their own. I mean, thanks liver and kidneys, right?
Right.
But when you start messing around with that natural process, especially with like laxatives and other iffy ingredients, you're probably doing more harm than good.
No doubt. And then you've got those fat burner supplements, marketed as a shortcut to weight loss. The article breaks down the science behind these things. Many of them are basically just glorified caffeine pills, right?
So true. A temporary boost, sure, but nothing that really makes a difference long term. This is where that data-driven AI perspective really comes in handy.
Absolutely. Cuts through all that marketing hype. Reminds us that sustainable weight loss, at its core, boils down to two things. Creating a calorie deficit and, well, moving your body regularly. Makes you wonder why we overcomplicate things, huh?
Totally. You know, what I find fascinating is this human tendency to flip-flop between extremes when it comes to food, like that low-carb craze a while back.
Oh, yeah, like carbs are public enemy number one.
It's crazy. Like, we forgot that carbohydrates are what power our bodies,
Yeah.
especially for those hardcore workouts that rockingultra.com crowd loves. Of course, some carbs are better choices than others, but to completely demonize a whole macronutrient group doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're spot on. The article goes deeper into the science, all about the role of carbs in energy, muscle recovery, even how our brains work. It stresses understanding the different kinds of carbs. Simple, complex, refined, whole, making smart choices based on what you need and what you're aiming for.
And then there's the complete opposite, the demonization of fats that was huge a few decades ago. It sparked this whole wave of low-fat and fat-free products that were packed with sugar and all sorts of unhealthy stuff to make up for the lack of flavor. What a mess.
Talk about flawed logic. It's funny how science has come such a long way. Now we appreciate the importance of healthy fats for our hormones, our brain function, and even feeling full and satisfied. The article is all about nuance, about understanding that both carbs and fats are essential for a balanced diet.
You know, it's like we always want to label food as good or bad instead of accepting that nutrition is complex. Our bodies thrive on a variety of nutrients.
And this brings up another fascinating point from The Flawed Feast. Food becoming part of our identity.
Yeah, like what you eat is a declaration of who you are. Keto warrior, vegan advocate, paleo purist, carnivore devotee. It's more than just the food. It's about being part of a tribe, aligning yourself with certain beliefs.
Exactly. And while the article acknowledges that some of these identity-driven diets can lead to positive changes, like becoming more aware of animal welfare or focusing on whole foods, it also warns about the potential downsides.
Absolutely. If you're too rigid about a specific way of eating, you could end up with nutritional imbalances, social isolation, even disordered eating habits.
The key takeaway here is flexibility, adapting your approach to nutrition. And just like the experts at rockingultra.com always say, it's all about figuring out what works for you, your body, and your goals.
So true. And speaking of finding what works, the next thing the article talks about is that struggle between emotional eating and what our bodies actually need. Something I think we've all been through. You know, those times you grab a bag of chips even though you're not really hungry?
It's like our emotions hijack our rational brains, especially when we're stressed or bored or feeling down. And let's face it, those processed foods, the sugary and salty ones, they're designed to hit those reward centers in our brains, making them almost irresistible.
It's instant gratification winning over long-term goals every time. And it's something rockingultra.com talks about in other articles too, especially for runners who might be tempted to reward themselves with unhealthy treats after a tough workout. It's all about finding healthier ways to deal with those emotions and becoming more mindful of what we're eating.
That's a great point. And it leads us to another critical point raised in the flawed feast, and something that's super relevant these days with information overload everywhere. Figuring out how to navigate the sea of misinformation about nutrition.
It's like everyone's a nutrition expert now. Opinions and advice are coming at you from every direction. Social media is a breeding ground for fads, pseudoscience, and anecdotal claims disguised as facts.
The article uses the example of glorifying natural foods. Just because something's natural doesn't mean it's good for you or even safe. I mean, arsenic is natural too, right?
Right. Context is everything. And then there's the fear of processed foods, which, sure, is sometimes valid, but often blown way out of proportion. Processing isn't always a bad thing. Some processed foods, like fortified cereals, have actually been really important in reducing nutrient deficiencies.
What rockingultra.com emphasizes is the importance of critical thinking. You need to be able to tell the difference between credible sources and those just trying to sell you on the latest trend. You need to be able to spot the difference.
Exactly. Understanding that just because two things happen around the same time doesn't mean one caused the other. And being skeptical of anecdotal evidence or studies that haven't been rigorously checked. Speaking of setting unrealistic expectations, the article dives into our society's obsession with perfection in diet and exercise.
It's this endless chase for the ideal body, the flawless diet, the perfect workout routine, and it often sets us up for failure and fuels the cycle of restriction and guilt.
I know, right? We're constantly bombarded with images and messages that promote impossible standards. It makes us feel like we're not good enough if we don't measure up, and this pressure to be perfect can actually sabotage our progress.
RockingUltra.com really nails it by suggesting we shift our perspective. Instead of striving for perfection, which is ultimately unattainable, what if we aimed for progress? Making small, sustainable changes we can stick with over time.
Now that's a healthy and realistic approach, and it fits perfectly with rockingultra.com's philosophy of finding balance and building a sustainable lifestyle that benefits both your physical and mental well-being.
Exactly. And this brings us to the last point of the article, all about ditching the complexity and getting back to basics.
Yes, back to basics. It's a good reminder that reaching our health and fitness goals doesn't require fancy meal plans, pricey supplements, or the latest trendy workout equipment. It's about consistently doing the fundamental things that we already know work.
Like eating whole, unprocessed foods, creating a calorie deficit if you want to lose weight, getting regular physical activity, and for the rockingultra.com folks, that obviously means running, getting enough sleep, and staying hydrated.
It sounds so simple when you put it like that. But I think we get lost in the details, the latest fads, the constant flood of information, and we lose sight of these basic principles.
And that's precisely why resources like rockingultra.com are so valuable. They give you evidence-based information presented in a clear and engaging way that helps you cut through all the noise and focus on what truly matters.
And don't forget, we're just giving you a taste here. There's a whole world of knowledge waiting for you on rockingultra.com. In-depth articles, inspiring stories, practical tips you can use on your own running journey.
And if you want to dive even deeper, check out their books on Amazon. It's like having your own running coach, nutritionist, and motivational speaker all in one.
It's a powerful reminder that knowledge is power. And when it comes to our health and well-being, there's always more to learn and explore.
You know, going through these articles from rockingultra.com, there's this theme that keeps popping up, this idea of simplification. Like they're saying, hey, you know what? Achieving your running and fitness goals doesn't have to be some big, complicated thing.
It's a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Because there's this tendency in the fitness world to make everything sound so complex, like you need a PhD to figure it all out.
Yeah.
But rockingultra.com, they cut through all that and bring it back to basics.
And I think that really resonates with their audience, you know, people who love running and want to get better, but also want advice they can actually use in their lives. They're not looking for some crazy system. They just want to run better, feel healthier, and, you know, maybe push themselves a little further.
Exactly. And the AI's insights from the Flawed Feast article we talked about really support that approach. Remember how it pointed out how obsessed we are with quick fixes and fad diets?
Oh, yeah.
It's like we're always searching for a shortcut, that magic pill that will give us results without actually putting in the work.
But rockingultra.com is all about sustainable change, right? Building habits that last a lifetime. And that starts with understanding those fundamental principles of nutrition and fitness and applying them consistently.
So like they're saying, forget the gimmicks,
Yeah.
forget the hype, just focus on the things that truly matter.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's reflected in their whole approach to running too. They emphasize listening to your body, respecting your limits, and finding joy in the process.
It's not about pushing yourself to the point of burnout or injury. It's about finding that sweet spot where you're challenging yourself, but also taking care of your body and your mind.
And speaking of taking care of your body and mind, there's another article on rockingultra.com that I found really interesting. It talks about the connection between sleep and athletic performance, which is something I think a lot of runners tend to overlook.
It's funny, right, how we often think that more is always better when it comes to training. But as this article points out, neglecting sleep can actually sabotage your efforts and make you more prone to injuries. It's like trying to run a car on an empty tank. You might be able to go for a while, but eventually you're going to break down.
That's such a good analogy. And it's not just about physical recovery either. Sleep is also crucial for mental clarity, focus, and emotional regulation, all of which are essential for optimal running performance.
The article goes into detail about the different stages of sleep and how they contribute to muscle repair, hormone regulation, and memory consolidation. It's like our bodies are doing all this amazing work behind the scenes while we sleep, preparing us for the next day's challenges.
And it's not just about the quantity of sleep, it's about quality too. RockingUltra.com offers a bunch of practical tips for improving sleep hygiene. Things like establishing a consistent sleep schedule, creating a relaxing bedtime routine, and making sure your sleep environment is optimal.
You know, it's like they're saying, treat your sleep with the same importance as your training. And if you're someone who struggles with sleep, they even offer advice on how to identify potential issues and seek professional help if needed.
It's all about taking a holistic approach to your well-being, recognizing that sleep is just as important as nutrition and exercise when it comes to achieving your running goals.
And speaking of holistic approaches, there's another article on rockingultra.com that tackles the topic of hydration for runners. It's a topic that gets debated a lot. How much water should you be drinking and when? It seems like everyone has a different opinion.
It could be so confusing, right?
Yeah.
But what I appreciate about rockingultra.com's approach is that they cut through the noise and provide evidence-based guidelines specifically for runners.
They emphasize the importance of individualized hydration strategies, acknowledging that factors like body weight, sweat rate climate, and exercise intensity can all influence your fluid needs.
They even have a sweat rate test on their website that you can use to estimate how much fluid you lose during exercise, which is super helpful for figuring out how much you need to replenish.
And they go beyond just talking about water, too. They discuss the role of electrolytes in maintaining fluid balance and preventing cramping, especially during long runs or in hot weather.
They even provide recipes for homemade electrolyte drinks, which is a great way to save money and avoid all the added sugar and artificial ingredients found in many commercial sports drinks.
What I find interesting is how they address both the dangers of dehydration and overhydration. A lot of runners don't realize that drinking too much water can actually be harmful and lead to a condition called hyponatremia.
It's like they're saying, yes, hydration is important, but it's also about finding that balance and listening to your body's signals. And they offer tips for hydrating in different weather conditions, which is especially important for runners who train in extreme heat or cold.
And for those who are training for races, they recommend practicing your hydration strategy during training runs to make sure your body is used to the fluids you'll be consuming on race day.
It's all about preparation and being proactive, which is a theme that runs throughout all of the articles we're exploring from rockingultra.com. They really empower runners to take control of their health and performance.
And speaking of taking control, they have another fantastic article that dives into the mental aspect of running, which is something that often gets overlooked.
Yes, the mind-body connection is so crucial, but it's something that so many runners struggle with. We tend to focus so much on the physical training that we neglect the mental game.
RockingUltra.com does a great job of breaking down those mental barriers that runners often face. Things like self-doubt, fear of failure, and negative self-talk. and they offer practical strategies for overcoming those challenges and developing mental toughness.
They talk about the importance of setting realistic goals, focusing on the process rather than the outcome, and cultivating a positive self-image.
They even discuss the power of visualization, which is a technique used by many elite athletes to mentally rehearse a race or workout and build confidence.
And they don't shy away from addressing the challenges of motivation and burnout, which are common experiences for runners of all levels.
They provide tips for staying motivated, such as finding a running buddy, setting inspiring goals, and tracking your progress.
And they emphasize the importance of listening to your body and taking rest days when needed to prevent burnout and injury.
They even offer advice on how to deal with setbacks, like injuries or disappointing races, which is something that every runner will face at some point.
They encourage runners to view these setbacks as opportunities for growth and learning, rather than as failures. It's all about developing resilience and a positive mindset.
And what I really appreciate about RockingUltra.com's approach is that they acknowledge the importance of seeking professional help when needed. They provide resources for runners who might be struggling with mental health issues like anxiety or depression.
It's all about breaking down the stigma surrounding mental health and empowering runners to take care of their overall well-being.
And that's really what sets RockingUltra.com apart. They're not just about providing information on training and nutrition. They're about fostering a supportive and inclusive community of runners who are committed to helping each other thrive.
And let's not forget, you can access all of this amazing content on their website or in their books available on Amazon. They've got articles covering just about every aspect of running you can think of.
Right, from choosing the right running shoes to preventing injuries to fueling your runs to mastering race day preparation.
It's like having a personal running encyclopedia at your fingertips.
And speaking of running gear, let's dive into their article on choosing the right running shoes.
Ah, the eternal quest for the perfect shoe. It can be so overwhelming, especially with so many options available.
RockingUltra.com simplifies the process by emphasizing the importance of finding shoes that fit your individual foot type and running style. They debunk the myth that there's one best shoe for everyone and encourage runners to consider factors like arch type pronation and cushioning needs.
They even provide a guide to different shoe types, such as stability shoes, motion control shoes, and neutral cushion shoes, explaining the pros and cons of each.
And they go beyond just talking about the technical aspects of shoes, too. They discuss the importance of getting properly fitted by a running shoe specialist who can assess your gait and recommend shoes that will provide the right support and comfort.
They even offer tips for trying on shoes like wearing your usual running socks and going for a short jog in the store to get a feel for how the shoes perform.
And what's particularly insightful is that they address the importance of replacing your running shoes regularly, even if they don't look worn out. They explain how the cushioning and support in shoes can break down over time, which can increase your risk of injury.
They recommend replacing your shoes every 300 to 500 miles, depending on your weight running style and the type of terrain you run on.
And they even offer tips for extending the life of your shoes, such as rotating between multiple pairs and avoiding running in wet or muddy conditions.
It's all about being proactive and taking care of your feet, which are your most valuable asset as a runner.
And speaking of taking care of your body, let's move on to their article on injury prevention. It's something that every runner wants to avoid, but unfortunately, it's a reality for many.
Right. But as RockingUltra.com points out, a lot of running injuries are preventable if you take the right approach. They emphasize the importance of listening to your body, respecting rest days, and gradually increasing mileage and intensity to avoid overloading your muscles and joints.
They also discuss the importance of warming up properly before runs and cooling down afterward to prepare your body for the stress of exercise and promote recovery.
And they go beyond just the physical aspects of injury prevention, too. They talk about the mental and emotional factors that can contribute to injuries as well.
Right, like stress, anxiety, and lack of sleep can all increase your risk of getting injured, as they can impair your judgment coordination and recovery ability.
They encourage runners to manage their stress levels through techniques such as meditation yoga or spending time in nature.
And they emphasize the importance of seeking professional help if you're experiencing persistent pain or discomfort.
They provide information on common running injuries, their symptoms, and potential treatment options.
They even offer tips for cross-training, which can help runners stay active while recovering from an injury or preventing overuse injuries.
They recommend activities such as swimming, cycling, or strength training, which can strengthen different muscle groups and improve overall fitness.
And what I really appreciate about RockingUltra.com's approach is that they emphasize the importance of a holistic approach to injury prevention. They encourage runners to consider all aspects of their well-being, including physical, mental, and emotional health.
It's about creating a sustainable and balanced approach to running that will allow you to enjoy the sport for years to come.
And speaking of sustainability, let's delve into their article on nutrition for runners.
Yes, fueling our runs is crucial for performance and recovery, but it can be a confusing topic with so much conflicting information out there.
What I like about rockingultra.com's approach is that they break down the complexities of sports nutrition in a way that's easy to understand and apply.
They provide guidance on macronutrient ratios, explaining the role of carbohydrates, protein, and fat in fueling our runs and supporting recovery. They even have meal plans and recipes tailored for runners, incorporating nutrient-dense foods that will fuel your workouts and help you recover faster.
And they go beyond just the basics, too. They discuss the importance of micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, which are essential for overall health and athletic performance.
Right, and they don't just tell you what to eat, they also explain when to eat it. They discuss the importance of timing your meals and snacks around your workouts to maximize energy levels and recovery.
For example, they explain how to fuel up before a run, refuel afterward, and stay hydrated throughout the day.
They even offer advice on how to adjust your nutrition strategy for different types of runs, like long runs, speed workouts, and races.
It's all about finding what works best for your body and your training goals. And remember, they have tons of great articles and recipes on their website to help you personalize your nutrition plan.
And speaking of personalization, they have a really interesting article on strength training for runners. It's something that a lot of runners neglect, thinking that running alone is enough.
But rockingultra.com emphasizes the importance of building a strong foundation, explaining how strength training can help prevent injuries, improve running economy, and boost overall performance.
They debunk those common misconceptions about strength training for runners, like the fear of bulking up or losing speed.
They explain that building muscle can actually make you a leaner, more efficient, than faster runner.
Right. And they provide specific strength training routines that are tailored for runners, incorporating exercises that target the key muscle groups used in running.
They even offer modifications for different fitness levels, making it accessible for runners of all abilities.
And they go beyond just providing workout routines, too. They discuss the importance of proper form, using appropriate weights, and gradually increasing intensity to avoid injury.
It's all about finding a balance between running and strength training that works for your individual needs and goals.
And what I appreciate about rockingultra.com's approach to strength training is that they make it seem less intimidating and more approachable.
Exactly. They emphasize the importance of finding activities that you enjoy and making them a regular part of your routine.
Speaking of making things a regular part of your routine, let's talk about the mental game of running, which is another area that rockingultra.com covers extensively.
Yes, our mental state can have a profound impact on our running performance, but it's often overlooked.
Right, and rockingultra.com does a fantastic job of addressing the psychological barriers that runners often face.
They offer practical strategies for developing mental toughness, such as setting realistic goals, focusing on the process rather than the outcome, and cultivating a positive self-image.
They even discuss the importance of visualization, which can be incredibly helpful for building confidence and reducing anxiety.
And they don't shy away from tackling the challenges of motivation and burnout, providing tips for staying motivated and preventing those mental slumps.
They also emphasize the importance of listening to your body and taking rest days when needed to prevent both physical and mental burnout.
And they offer advice on how to deal with setbacks, such as injuries or disappointing races, encouraging runners to view these challenges as opportunities for growth and learning.
What I really appreciate about rockingultra.com's approach to the mental game is that they acknowledge that it's just as important as the physical training.
Exactly. And they encourage runners to seek professional help if they're struggling with mental health issues, which can often impact athletic performance as well.
It's all about taking care of your overall well-being, both physically and mentally.
And speaking of taking care of yourself, let's move on to their article on recovery for runners.
Recovery.
Yeah.
It's often overlooked, but so crucial for preventing injuries, improving performance, and just feeling your best.
RockingUltra.com emphasizes that recovery is not just about resting, but actively supporting your body's repair and rebuilding processes.
They delve into a variety of recovery strategies, including stretching foam rolling, compression therapy, and even ice baths.
They explain the benefits of each technique and how it can help reduce muscle soreness, improve flexibility, and speed up recovery time.
And what I find particularly insightful is their discussion of the importance of nutrition for recovery.
Right. They emphasize the need to replenish glycogen stores and provide the body with the protein it needs to repair muscle tissue.
They even provide specific recommendations for post-workout meals and snacks, including recipes that are packed with nutrients to support recovery.
And they don't shy away from reiterating the importance of sleep for recovery, highlighting the need for adequate sleep to allow the body to fully repair and rebuild.
It's all about creating a recovery plan that works for you and your individual needs.
And speaking of individuality, let's talk about their article on running form, which is another crucial aspect of efficient and injury-free running.
Yes, good running form can make a big difference in your performance and your overall enjoyment of the sport.
RockingUltra.com does a great job of breaking down the key elements of good running form, such as posture, cadence, stride length, and arm swing, explaining how each component contributes to a smooth and effortless stride.
They provide drills and exercises that runners can do to improve their form, focusing on strengthening the core, increasing hip mobility, and developing a more efficient stride.
They even offer tips for analyzing your own running form, whether through video recording or seeking feedback from a running coach.
And what I find particularly helpful is their discussion of common running form mistakes like overstriding heel striking and excessive arm swing.
They explain how these errors can lead to inefficiency and injury and provide specific advice on how to correct them.
It's all about paying attention to your body and making small adjustments over time to develop a more efficient and injury-free running style.
And speaking of preparation, let's move on to their article on race day preparation. This is where all of your hard work and training come together, and RockingUltra.com provides a comprehensive guide to help you maximize your performance and minimize stress and anxiety.
They cover everything from tapering your training to planning your nutrition and hydration strategy to packing your race day bag.
They even provide checklists and timelines to help runners stay organized and make sure they don't forget any important details.
And what I find particularly insightful is their emphasis on the mental aspects of race day preparation.
Right, they talk about the importance of visualizing success, managing pre-race jitters, and developing a positive mindset.
They offer techniques for calming nerves, such as deep breathing exercises and positive self-talk.
And they encourage runners to focus on the process rather than the outcome, reminding them that they've put in the training and are prepared to give it their best effort.
They even provide tips for dealing with unexpected challenges that might arise on race day, such as bad weather or a change in the course route.
It's all about being flexible, adaptable, and maintaining a positive attitude no matter what obstacles you might encounter.
There, finally, let's talk about RockingUltra.com's article on finding joy in running, which I think is the most important aspect of all.
Absolutely. Running should be more than just a workout. It should be an activity that brings us joy, satisfaction, and a sense of accomplishment.
And RockingUltra.com offers some great tips for rediscovering that joy, like setting realistic goals, celebrating small victories, and finding a running community that supports and inspires you.
They encourage runners to break out of their routines and try something new, whether it's exploring a new trail, joining a running group, or trying a different type of workout.
And they emphasize the importance of practicing gratitude for the ability to run, appreciating the strength and resilience of our bodies, and savoring every step we take.
It's a reminder that running is a gift, not a chore, and that it's an activity that we should cherish and enjoy.
I think that's a great message to take away from this deep dive into RockingUltra.com's content. They really offer a holistic and balanced approach to running, recognizing the importance of both the physical and the mental aspects of the sport.
And they do it in a way that's informative, engaging, and inspiring.
It's clear that they're passionate about helping runners of all levels achieve their goals and find joy in the journey.
And remember, you can access all of this amazing content on their website or in their books available on Amazon. It's a treasure trove of running wisdom that can help you take your running to the next level and become a healthier, happier, and more resilient runner.
It's really incredible how much useful information RockingUltra.com manages to pack into their articles. And it's not just about, the physical stuff, the running itself. They really get into that mental game, which can either make you or break you as a runner.
That's what's so cool about their approach. They totally get that running is as much a mental sport as it is a physical one. And in this last article we're looking at, they kind of tie everything together with this idea of mindset.
Okay, so tell me more about that. How do they connect everything back to mindset?
Well, they make the point that the most crucial thing when it comes to achieving any goal, whether it's running a marathon or just, making healthier choices, is believing in yourself. believing you can overcome any challenge.
It's that inner drive, that mental toughness
Yeah.
that separates those who just talk about their goals from those who actually get out there and make them happen.
You got it. And rockingultra.com has some really practical tips for building up that mental strength. They talk about setting realistic goals, breaking those big goals down into smaller, more manageable steps, and then celebrating every single win along the way.
That's such a good point, especially in a sport like running where it's easy to get discouraged by the distance or, how tough a particular race might be.
Right. And they also talk about how important it is to reframe setbacks, to see them as opportunities to learn and grow rather than just failures. It's about taking your mistakes, adjusting your approach, and coming back even stronger.
That's so true. It's about turning a negative experience into something positive, which can be so empowering.
Totally. And that applies to everything, from hitting a snag in your training to having a disappointing race. It's all about focusing on the things you can control. And that starts with your mindset. And this brings us back to what the AI said in the Flawed Feast article.
Oh, yeah, right. The AI's perspective on human behavior. It highlighted how we tend to sabotage ourselves, always looking for that quick fix, choosing comfort over reaching for those long-term goals.
But it also recognized that humans are capable of amazing things: endurance, strength, resilience. We have this power to push ourselves to the limit and do things we never thought we could.
So what does all of this mean for us as runners? For anyone who's dreaming big and trying to be better?
It means we have a choice. We can let our fears and habits control us, or we can work on developing a mindset that helps us break free and reach our full potential.
And it seems like rockingultra.com gives us the tools and the inspiration to make that happen.
Totally. They have all this evidence-based info, practical advice, and inspiring stories that can totally change your relationship with running and even with yourself.
So whether you're already running marathons or you're just starting out, I definitely recommend checking out rockingultra.com. And they're awesome books. You can find them on Amazon. They really do have something for everyone.
It's like having a personal running coach, a nutritionist, and a cheerleader all in one place.
That's a great way to put it. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with something to think about. It's something that came up as we were looking at all this great content today. What if, instead of seeing food as the enemy, something to feel guilty about, we started to see it as fuel for our goals and a way to nourish both our bodies and our minds?
Wow, that's a powerful question. It makes us reconsider our relationship with food and approach it with more respect, thinking about nourishment and, yeah, even enjoyment.
It's about finding that sweet spot, fueling our bodies for performance, but also respecting our needs and what we like.
Absolutely. When we can shift our thinking, start to see food as an ally and not something we're fighting against, that's when our whole approach to health and fitness can change.
So true. So as you keep on running, remember to nourish your body, challenge your mind, and most importantly, find joy in every step you take. And hey, don't forget to visit rockingultra.com for even more inspiration and advice. Until next time, happy running.